What's going on, y'all? It's your girl Ashley coming back at y'all with another motherfucking video. How y'all doing today? Y'all doing good? I hope so. I talked to some people on my Twitch and y'all told me, Ashley, why did you stop making Sims content? And I said, well, I felt like y'all didn't like it. I felt like nobody watched it. And they said, bitch, run them hands because we want to see Sims content. So here we are. Today we're going to do a build. Maybe we'll start doing some gameplays on here. Don't worry. We are still going back to Happy Humble's Burger Farm. I'm still going to finish that game, I promise. But let's change it up. It's been all horror. Blah, blah, blah. We're playing The Sims today. We're going to do a tiny house speed build. Y'all will see this lovely face every so often. But for the speed build, it'll mostly be like voiceover me while you watch me build the shits. So anyway, before we get started, have y'all eaten today? Have you taken your meds? Have you drank any water? If you answer no to any of the following, please do that shit. Your life has always mattered, but in 2022, we're taking care of ourselves. Let's hop into this build. Where do we want to build this at? Where do we want to build it at? We're going to go to Hinford on Bagley, and this is where we're going to build our tiny cabin. But what lot? What lot? Who are we going to evict today? All right, y'all. Y'all got to get out. Eviction. Y'all got evicted. Alright, so it's a 30 by 20. It's a 30 by 20. Damn, they had the dramatic music and everything. Let's go to build mode. Alright, we made it to the lot. It's a cute little lot with a farm and shits. Alright, I like the farm and shits. We're going to add the farm and shits. Okay, we're going to bulldoze the lot. Bulldoze. Take it down. All right, here we go. So we're going to go here and we're going to go to tiny home residential. We're going to challenge ourselves. We're going to do a tier 1 micro home. Okay, so 32 spaces. That's all we can have, y'all. So let's jump into this speed build. All right, thanks, past Ashley. What's up? It is voiceover Ashley, and here we go. I'm not even going to lie to you guys that I had to play around with the layout of this house for a really long time. I cut a lot of it out, you guys, because every time I tried to get the amount of, tiles that you can have, it was not working out for me. And then once I got the amount of tiles that I wanted, I couldn't pick a shape that I liked. And then when I would pick a shape that I liked, it just wouldn't work out for me. So you're just gonna see here that I changed the shape of this damn house like 4 times before we finally get where we were trying to go. And when I tell y'all these roofs were not working with me, I mean it. You are gonna see me struggle with the roof. It just would not do what I want it to do. And in all honesty, when I build, I am a square builder. I know that's really whack and I hate it myself, but I really like flat roofs of like modernized houses where you can like have a glass roof or like a balcony, but your whole roof is like the balcony. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of builds I do. And it drives me nuts that the roof always looks wrong to me. But as you can see here, we're starting to finally progress towards the final shape. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I just want these roofs to connect. This is not working for me at all. But we're getting close to the final shape. Okay, so then I have this idea of like an A-frame cabin, which I don't know if you guys have seen those. They're super cool cabins that are in the shape of like a triangle, basically. That's why they're called A-frames. But because it was so small, the roofs were like doing this cross-section-y shit, and then that wouldn't close, and I was getting so frustrated. And so finally I was like, forget it, I'm done. This obviously isn't gonna work. Maybe we'll come back to this idea for a bigger house, but for this build, it's definitely not gonna work. But I really loved how the A-frame looked with the glass roof. I thought it was super cool idea, but again, it just did not work for this build. We'll come back to it in another build for sure. At this point, I decided that I wanted to add a platform to the lower level just to kind of give the house, I don't know, like a little bit more space, kind of like to kind of section off rooms that aren't technically sectioned off. So we did a platform down below to section off like the kitchen living room area, and then we did a loft style platform up top for the bedroom area. It's at this point that we start building one of my favorite parts of this build, which is the roofs. Anyway, you'll see that I try to do a flat roof on the top, and I ended up not liking how that looks, so I ended up pulling it up to a point, and I liked how that looked a lot better. And the side slanty roof with the glass I thought looked super cool to put like plants in, kind of like a greenhouse that you could see from inside of the house. Now you can't go in there. I had to put on the move objects cheat so that I could put some windows there because it's technically a roof, so you're not supposed to be able to put windows there. But I ended up putting some windows in, as you'll see, and it looks super cool once we add all the plants in later on. Windows are something I struggle with, you guys. They're my best friend and my worst enemy because I feel like a house can't have enough windows or glass. I love glass roofs. I love extra windows. The more natural light, the better. Like, my dream home would be made of glass. I'm not even gonna lie about it. And I'm the most clumsy person in the world, so I should never have a house made out of glass, but this is the final look that we had for the outside of the house. So I started actually working on the terrain. I hated that grass, so we made it a little bit darker. This is where I start building the pond. I knew I wanted a pond from the beginning just because this little cabin is super close to an actual lake in the game. So I knew that I wanted to do a pond, and I'm extra, so you know, you gotta make it look like it's been there. You gotta add the dirt around it. And then you can see right here that the foundation was like showing, and I didn't want that, so I ended up flattening out the ground to fix it so that you couldn't see it. At this point, I decided that this house wasn't extra enough for me. Y'all know I'm extra. I know I'm extra. So this is where we went from a tier 1 micro home to a tier 2 tiny home, because the balcony really made this whole cabin for me. I think that it adds so much to this build, and I end up just making it a little lounge area. Nothing super serious, but I think the overall look just looks better with the balcony. It just hangs over into the water. Like, how cute is that? You're gonna see that I moved the platform because I realized the platform wouldn't work where it was with putting a back door on to connect it to this porch. But we got it all situated, and I ended up making this cool door in the back that we ended up getting rid of because I realized nothing would fit with that giant door there. But we did match the browns for our foundations so that it looks better, and I added this nice brown fence as a railing that I thought was super cute, but I thought we were going too dark, so I decided that I wanted to match the light brown that's in the siding of this cabin right here to the flooring of the porch. So as you can see, I'm like, oh, that color would be nice. And so I grabbed this and boom, I feel like that just ties it all together so well. Now we're bringing the lot to life. We're adding our greenery, we're adding our trees, you know, doing what we can to make this lot look less bare. I'm going through the different trees, trying to decide what do I like better. And I was like, we have to have some live ones, we have to have some dead ones, you know, just to kind of make it feel like it's foresty, because around this lot is super foresty. So I ended up putting these like bushes kind of behind it, kind of to fence it off, but also to make it seem like there's a lot more greenery. Like I said, we want it to seem alive with plants and animals, as you're going to see very soon. So we added rocks in. I just wanted the pond to really look like a pond, not like it's man-made. I really wanted it to look like this is a natural pond. So we added rocks in the bottom. I added a bunch of plants on the top and a bunch of plants on the bottom just to tie it all together. This is where I start using one of my favorite new features of The Sims 4, which are these little squares that add little animated animals to your lots. They're not technically alive, you can't interact with them or anything, but it adds life to your lots. We now have ducks and fireflies, dragonflies, even an alligator and tadpoles in our pond, which I think is super cool. And I also found out that you can use them on other parts of your property. As long as you have the move objects cheat on, you can put like dragonflies or fireflies wherever you want on your lot and they will work, but you cannot move them unless you have move objects on. So now I'm starting to build our path and I realized I absolutely hated that, but I wanted to keep the same idea of like spaced out rocks. So we ended up going with this path here. And you know, like I said, I'm extra, so we decided to put some dirt around it just to make it seem like it's been there a while, you know what I mean? New house, but old stuff around it. We're going for like a modern meets country outdoorsy, you know what I mean? Like how a new cabin is in an old place kind of thing. That's what we were going for here, and I realized I love how that looked when they were darker, so I took the dirt and I just darkened the entire path. This area is another one of my favorites of this build. It's like a greenhouse inside of a glass roof. I think it's a super cool idea. I had a lot of fun making it, just messing around with the plants. My only issue was that for some of the plants, once you set them, you couldn't take them out unless you hit the undo button. But I knew I wanted some height in there, so I tried to put tall plants. I put rocks in there, flowers, you name it, I put it in there. I wanted it to look like there was a lot of plants living in there. And it just sucks that it's in a roof, so you can't really go in there, because I would have put like a seating area in there if I could have. But I really love this. It is one of my favorite parts of this build for sure. Okay, so now we're making the lounge area. I added a cooler, obviously, you know, some beers and some lounge chairs. The lounge chairs come later. I built this bonfire and I realized I put this dirt circle off center and it pissed me off. So then I redid it and it was still off center, just not as bad. So I was like, fuck it, we're just gonna go with it because if I don't, I'll be here all day trying to make this circle perfect. I said we were gonna add the farm and shits, so here comes the farm and shits. Okay, so we have the place for like cows and llamas now. I added a cute little fence to kind of have like an enclosed space for them so they're not just, you know, wandering the yard. And you know, you'll see that I add a bunch of little details. We also end up adding a chicken coop in here so that the chickens and the cows can all like be in one place. I thought that was a super cute idea. Time for the garden. So I had to move some things over to make space for the garden. I didn't want a huge garden, but I knew I didn't want a small one either. So you're just going to see me move it around, just try to fit it in exactly how I want it so that everything has space to grow and I can add my little details. So you'll see here, these are chairs. These hay bales are chairs, but they make for such cute decorations for farm stuff. So you could technically sit on them, but I make them bigger and smaller just to kind of give the illusion that, you know, you have hay lying around for your animals. Same thing goes for these little mushroom chairs. These are technically chairs, yes, but y'all know I love mushrooms. And so once I started putting them in, I was like, everywhere needs mushrooms. You get some mushrooms and you get some mushrooms. And then I struggled for like a long time trying to put a mushroom on this log, but I knew I wanted a mushroom on the log, so I made it happen. But seriously, everywhere needed mushrooms, and I didn't stop there. Later on, I add more mushrooms. And there's our chicken coop. I set it up real cute so that the chickens will have plenty of room to walk around and the cows or llamas or whatever you end up having will have a lot of room to walk around. I ended up fencing out the entire lot other than right next to the pond with these kind of bushy things. And I knew I wanted like an archway when you walk into the property, but I couldn't find one that worked for me. So I ended up making one out of columns. And these little like roofy things, I don't know what you call them, but I tried to do these things that attach to the columns and it didn't work. I tried to do an actual roof and it didn't work. So then I was like, okay, I know there are these little decorative roofs. And I looked through them and I ended up finding one that I really liked. And we put 2 on each side and lined them up just right so they look nice. We ended up adding some lights to it. It ends up super cute. I really liked where the yard was going. I realized this corner right by our fenced area for the animals was empty. It needed something. So I found this well and I was like, of course this property would have a well on it. That just totally makes sense. So I added in the well with a couple cute little plants and I think it worked out pretty well. Huh, get it? Well, you know, because it's a well. Anyway, I ended up adding this little bench by the bonfire, and here are our lounge chairs. I thought they would have super comfy lounge chairs, just to kind of look over, you know, the railing into the water. I thought it was a cute idea. I wanted to make the area where the barn and stuff was lived in, so I put some dirt to make it look like the animals have been walking around. And now we're starting on the inside. I realized pretty much instantly that we're not going to be able to fit any stairs in here. I was like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? I can't put any stairs. And I was like, oh yeah, there's ladders. That just makes sense. It's a loft style. They would go up the ladder to go to their bedroom. I thought it was a great idea. Once I put the ladder where I wanted it, I added the matching railing. It matches the one that's outside just to tie it all together. Now it was time for the layout of the house. I knew that I wanted some tile on the floor and like a wood in the kitchen area. So we did tile there, and then we did wood here and added our trim to our platform, which looked really nice. And then I added matching flooring upstairs just because I thought it would make everything more consistent. And I did the same thing with the paneling that we had on the walls. I put that throughout the entire house because it's one consistent house versus it being separated. I thought it made a lot of sense. Right here's where I realized that the big door wasn't gonna work, and so we got a smaller glass door, which I end up moving because that placement didn't work, but the smaller door did work. We ended up going with a smaller fridge for this build because it's a literal tiny kitchen. It is teeny tiny. I move things around to try to make it work. I will say this, I did test this house after I built it, and you can't do anything in this house. So while it looks good, I literally can't cook, I can't sit on the couch, I can't go upstairs, so I will have to move some things around to actually make it livable. Even though I loved the layout, it's just not gonna work for what I need it to work for. I will probably end up moving the fridge over to where the seating area is instead, because then the ladder could actually be used. It really makes me sad that this layout did not work out because I think it looks great, and in real life you would easily be able to go around that chair to go up the ladder. You would. It would be simple. But obviously this house is made for just one single person to live in. This is not a family home, so the one chair makes sense. I will end up moving it around before I post it on the gallery for you guys to be able to download, because this will be on the gallery for you guys to play in. But I will end up changing the layout so that obviously you can access everything and it will actually be livable for your sim. The placement of the sink I think is my favorite part of the kitchen. I love that it's not up on the platform, it's off to the side. I think it's a good use of the space. For the living room area, I thought I wanted a TV down here, but I did not end up being able to find a space that would work for the TV, so I ended up putting a TV up in the bedroom. But I think it's still a nice place if like they had guests over, there would still be seating for them, even though they can't access it right now. I have to move things around, but point being, I think that if, you know, it was functional in a real way, it would make sense that it's just a small little seating area for guests. And again, I decorated, we didn't have much wall space, but I decorated it in the way that I think someone with a tiny house like this would decorate. I really love tying modernized styles into older styles. I think the two really work together well. I don't know why it's my favorite thing to do, make a modern house but in an old school way. I don't know, I just love doing it. It was now time for the bedroom, and as much as I wanted to fit a full-size bed up here, it was not going to happen. And again, this is a home for a single sim. They just ain't gonna be able to, you know, do the bang the boing in their bed. I don't know. I'm sorry. It was also at this moment that I realized I don't have a freaking bathroom. So I'm like, okay, there's absolutely nowhere to fit a bathroom in this house. There just isn't. It's not possible. So we were able to build kind of like an outhousey thing, but it's again a modernized home, so it's a modernized outhouse. We're still in the tier 2 section, even though at the beginning I said we were gonna build a micro home. It didn't happen, but we stayed in tier 2, and that makes me happy because at least we didn't go any further than that. This bathroom, I love the outcome of it. We also put in glass roof for it to tie it into the house. I love how it looked. We went with the same paneling from the house, and we also made it very much an outhouse. It's very nice and modernized, but the shower is like a homemade shower, and I just felt like they all tied together really well. I feel like, yes, of course, if with an outhouse you would have that kind of a shower, it wouldn't be the greatest shower you ever saw, but we also have a really nice area with some really nice copper sinks, you know what I mean? As we already know, I'm extra, so we had to add more greenery outside because we wanted to seem like the outhouse has been there for a while, so we added more plants. And then I realized that the well area was a little empty. I know, you're like, there's a whole well there. Listen, I ended up thinking that it needed more, so I ended up scrolling through decorations, and of course we added more mushrooms. I told you guys, I told you we would be adding more mushrooms everywhere. So I ended up going through the decorations, and I ended up finding these really cute barrels to add outside of the well, and it looks really cute. And I also felt like the side of the outhouse needed something, so we ended up putting like a garden hose and garden supplies, which totally made sense considering we have a garden. You cannot tell me that those barrels don't make the space look better. I realized that they were kind of big. They seemed weird to me, so I ended up shrinking them down and loving how it looked a lot better. So now we got into building the bathroom. I added this toilet because to me it's like, it's not a new toilet, but it's not an old toilet, so it kind of made sense. This original shower I had, I loved, but I felt like it didn't go with what we were looking for, so I ended up getting rid of that. Here are our copper sinks. I love how they look. I love it. We ended up adding this little mirror and some little towels, and I will show you guys my trick. You see, I can't put the soap where I want it on the counter, so I move the counter and use the move objects cheat to place it exactly where I want it so that it looks like the soap is right on the sink. And it's a simple trick, but I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, and it's really necessary if you want to add clutter to your builds. Here's where I felt like they would have this kind of tub, like an old school tub, but none of them matched the aesthetic we were going for. That's when I found this shower that's like for off the grid. I thought how cute, it matches the aesthetic that we're going for, and I absolutely love farm. They're not going to be able to live off of the microwave, so I'm like, okay, we have to put like one of those new stove tops in here somewhere. So I put one, but again, it wasn't functional. I have to move things around before I post it on the gallery, but this will be available on the gallery for you guys to use if you want. I added a little coat rack outside and a little plant just to add a little more to the porch. And here's where I start adding cat stuff. I'm like, okay, it needs a little bed. And I'm like, okay, what about right here? It didn't work. But we ended up yeeting the nightstand, moving our dresser over to the nightstand area and putting the cat tower thing where the dresser is. When I was looking at the final product, I realized there's this random tombstone here, and I'm like, I can't even get rid of it because it's not on my property. But anyway, here is the final look at our property. How cute is it? We got our little sim on here. If you guys want to see me play as her on this property, I have no problem doing that. Let me know down in the comments below. But now we're gonna take us a little tour. So here's the bonfire area. We move over, see those little squares that ended up turning into these fireflies and these dragonflies and these ducks. There's our alligator. Look at how cool. We have an alligator in our pond. I absolutely love that they added this feature. It's so small and simple, but it adds so much to a lot like this. I couldn't stop looking at the ducks. They are so freaking cute, and you can see the little tadpoles and the fish. I just love it so much. Close up on our well area in our little farm area. It just turned out so good. I love how everything ties together. We're gonna go around this corner so you can see we added this little trunk where the birds are. I love that that adds more animals and stuff to this property as well. We're also looking at the garden and our little greenhouse roof thing. I think it looks so good. See our sim in the background there splashing in the pond. Girl, there is a gator in there. You need to be careful, okay? I just love how it turned out. I had to come over. I'm like, girl, you really splashing in this pond with the gator in the pond. We're gonna follow her inside. I love that this camera allows you to get the perspective of a sim when you look around your house. So right now we're seeing this tiny cabin in the perspective of our sim. See, I feel like it could be functional. I just need to move a few things around. I love that this is all open up here. It gives the illusion that the tiny house is a lot bigger than we think it is. Now we're gonna go outside onto that porch area. Oops, excuse me, ma'am, we're coming through. So here we are. I love that it's so simple but so cute, and they're just gonna relax right here. Take a look over the railing at their pond area. I just love this. I feel like the house wouldn't have been the same without the porch, so I really loved that we ended up doing that. We're gonna go back inside and we're gonna head upstairs to take a look at the upstairs from our Sims point of view. I love how it looks like we're actually climbing the ladder. It reminds me of Minecraft a little bit. And here we are. Here's the bedroom. We're gonna turn the corner and we're gonna get a little peep of our bedroom space. I think the bedroom turned out cute. We got her little makeup tray up here next to her bed with her dresser. She's still got a little TV. And, you know, it seems so open because of the open concept and the glass roof. So even though it is a tiny home, it feels like it's much, much bigger. Now we're going to do a tour of our outhouse. Here it is from up top. I love the glass roofing to match the house. We're going to go inside. She apparently had to use the bathroom right when I'm giving a tour of the bathroom. I actually really love how this looks. Look at it. From up top, we have this open concept again. It makes the bathroom appear much larger than it actually is. There's the mirror and our copper sinks. I think this bathroom, or outhouse I should say, turned out really good. And there's that damn tombstone again that's gonna drive me nuts that I can't get rid of. But there's the lake I was telling you guys about earlier. They live right next to the lake. And then I saw our alligator Jesus floating, and we had to get a close-up on that because why our alligator turned into Jesus, I'm not sure. But there it goes down into the abyss. And that is it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. If you guys want to see more Sims 4 builds from me, let me know. Comment down below what you want to see me build next and give me challenges. I love building all kinds of things. I've built laundromats and hobo house areas, like where they live in trash. I'm telling you, I will take any challenge head on and build what you guys want to see. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. It means the world to me whenever you guys interact with my channel, let alone subscribing. And seriously, let me know what you guys want to see next. Again, I will be posting this in the gallery so that you guys can play in it as soon as I make the revisions to it. And also make sure you follow me on my other social medias if you haven't already, because I stream on Twitch all the time and we have a lot of fun on my other social medias. I'd love to see you guys there. That's it for this video. Here she goes splish splashing again. I will see you guys real soon. I love you. Make sure to eat something, drink your water, and take your meds, because if you don't, you know your girl's gonna pop up out of the screen and come get you. Your life has always mattered, but in 2022, we're taking care of ourselves. Love you guys.